Wrestling fans, it is Tuesday, and you know what that means. It is time for the Wrestle Report, episode 14, with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
And I'm done.
Hope you guys had a great holiday season, Christmas, or whatever else you might be celebrating. But I'm sure, like you guys, much like us, it was kind of cut short a little bit. It's hard to talk about anything else right now in the wrestling world. The day after Christmas, the news came out. The man we know is Luke Harper and Brodie Lee, and the man that is John Huber passed away due to lung complications at the age of 41. Um, there was plenty of other things to talk about leading up to this episode. We obviously took a week off during Christmas. I wanted to talk about the Fiend getting set on fire. I wanted to talk about the Hurt Business winning the tag team titles. We might get to that at the end of the show if there's some time and if we really feel like talking about it. But for now, like any other thing in the wrestling landscape, today, this week, this month, and who knows for how long, we'll feel the effects of the loss of the man John Hubert, and for the rest of the show, I will call him Mr. Brodie Lee. And a lot of wrestling cards have been altered for the near future. We'll talk about maybe a little bit the Dynamite episode that'll be airing tomorrow that was changed to be a tribute show for Mr. Brodie Lee. WWE also did a few little tribute shows. Did they do enough? That's something else we will maybe discuss. And Impact Wrestling, that's I think airing as we're recording, said that they are contributing their show to Mr. Brodie Lee's passing. So I guess the best place to start here is, Don, where were you when you heard the news? I know for me, so I got a couple board games for Christmas. We were trying them out. We were hanging out and stuff, and I check my phone and I see the original AEW eulogy post essentially, and like you see the big paragraph and you see the picture, and I'm like, for a split second, I thought he was released because when people get released, you get the big press release of them, and it took me minutes to really like focus and read the whole thing, and like even though you're reading it plain in black and white, it's not something you believe, and obviously that's all we knew at the time. We didn't know the details of it. It took, I think, a couple hours into the night to really find out, but that was my initial reaction. Obviously, I got texts from several different people about it. We're all trying to figure out what the issue was. We didn't know, was it a car accident? Was it a medical issue? Nothing was really said in that initial post. So the next couple hours was spent, frantically trying to learn new information. But that was my initial exposure to it. How about you?
Yeah, I was getting ready to watch my Dolphins play the Raiders. Uh, I was actually, no, I was watching it, and then I went on YouTube to see one of my content creators live stream for the Dolphins game,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw Fightful post something on there. Was doing a live stream video saying R.I.P. Brodie Lee. I was like, no. So I clicked on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's true. Sucks because he was talented.
Yeah. The all the details at the time of this recording, the only thing that's been said via his wife Amanda is a non-COVID related lung issue, which the non-COVID part is obviously a big key component to that. Um, I was listening to, I didn't get around to it before. AEW has their own podcast, AEW Unrestricted. If you haven't heard it, definitely go listen to it. Listen to this first, but then go check it out because they do some good work. And Brodie Lee's been on it twice. I saw the original. I did not see the second one until the news, and I went back, and it's something you just wanted to hear the voice. You wanted to see the person, even if it was from a couple weeks ago. And he told a story about after the dog collar match. Um, I guess he's a big Peloton workout guy. The bike, the
Yeah.
exercise bike Peloton. And he said a day or two after the match, he was on his Peloton. He said, for the first time, I couldn't finish a workout. I got out of breath too soon. I was still beat up from the match. Little did we know, it wasn't so much the match; it was that his lungs were losing power. Because what ended up happening is his lungs failed him, is what we have now learned. So it was pretty eerie to go back and listen to him tell that, almost shaking it off of like it, contributing it to a different factor, and the fact that he thought it was because of the dog collar match, or he was just beat up or whatever it might be. But it was pretty eerie to hear him just kind of call his shot in a way and know what was wrong with him without truly knowing what was wrong with him. He's obviously been off TV since that moment. His last tweet was respect to Cody Rhodes for beating him in that match. The Dark Order has been around. There hasn't really been mention of him either, and it's been led to believe that AEW brass and a couple higher ups, they kind of knew that he was in way worse health than most people would know. And I got to say, hats off to the AEW locker room and as a whole, as a business, because they kept this under wraps very well. I hate to say it, if this was happening in WWE, the news would probably have gotten out just because of the way things work. So the fact that they were able to keep this news so it was respectful for the family and the life and the man. But and as fans, we always like to know what's going on. But the fact they were able to keep this so hidden, I think, is a testament to the company.
Yeah, for real. Damn.
This
Shit's
is gonna,
just crazy, man.
yeah, this is gonna be a rough one, guys. We're gonna try and get through it. We owe it to the business and the person to, talk about his life and his legacy. So we will try to move to that now. Obviously, his career will always be synonymous with the Wyatt family. Like his run in AEW, while short, to me, what I love the most about the AEW run was it proved that, when we're on here most times, when we're talking about guys like Cesaro or maybe Kevin Owens and guys like, they could be the man if you just let them. And we think that, and we're like 90% sure that would be the case. And people have always said that about Luke Harper. So when he came to AEW and was able to be the man that runs the Dark Order, squashes Cody, wins the TNT title, it was validation of all the stuff that fans like us have been saying, that if you give this guy the chance, he'll take the ball and score. And while it might have been a short time, I think it proves that he was every bit as good as the main eventer and could lead a company and be the head storyline. So while his AEW run was, 6 months or so, it proved everything we've ever thought about the character.
Oh yeah, man. This made me want to wish that he was like more used when he was in WWE.
Yeah.
He had a great run. I love the run with the Bludgeon Brothers too. Like him and Rowan. I was cool. I was cool with it because it was different, and two big guys just wrecking shop. And like I feel for everyone in the wrestling business right now. I go through Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and I see everyone posting like all the nice things about Luke. And before the show, I was telling you I was watching Up Up Down Down, and like he was a big contributor on that show as well. And I don't know if you watched Raw last night, but there was quite a bit of tributes. Other than like what they usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like move wise and like little eggs in different situations. I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like you said, sadly WWE kind of has a standard they go through when a wrestler passes. They might do we haven't done an episode since, but obviously the passing of Pat Patterson, we thought that was going to be the worst news we'd get this month. Which is a huge loss to the wrestling business because he's an all-time great in the ring and an all-time mind. That being said, he's an 89-year-old man. It was a little easier to accept that. Doesn't make it any less sad, but a lot easier to accept an 89-year-old man versus a 41-year-old man.
True.
So there
was. It's crazy too. Like, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go for it.
About 5 years ago, I mean, I didn't have what he had, but I also have like lung problems, and like I actually lost. Well, I didn't lose my lung, but my lung collapsed. So like I'm just thinking like, damn, that could have been me.
Yeah, similar issue.
Similar, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was probably not as severe as his, but damn, that's what hits me the hardest.
Sure.
Because like that shit's crazy.
And I'm sure down the line we will learn more information about it. The only thing we know is lung complications that were non-COVID related. That's probably all we're gonna know for a little bit. But I think eventually we will learn the whole story. I do want to turn this. I want to go from the grieving of the loss to the celebration of life here. So we're gonna try to be more upbeat here. You mentioned the Bludgeon Brothers run, which I do want to get to here in a second. But obviously, preceding that is the Wyatt family, and as I've said earlier, that's what he'll always be synonymous with. And I dare to say, as great as Bray Wyatt is and as stoic as Eric Rowan is, I don't think that gimmick works without Harper. I think he's the reason that worked as well as it did, because you got the main eventer in Bray and you got the lowest man on the totem pole, Rowan, and the glue that held it together was Luke Harper. He was the one that could have the great matches with people when they'd have their 6-man matches early on. He was the workhorse in the ring. I was trying to think if I ever had the honor of seeing Luke Harper live, and I was kind of going on Wikipedia. I was going back to, he wasn't at the WrestleMania 33. He should have been in that main event with Orton and Bray because he was in that storyline, and a lot of people were clamoring for it. Sadly, he was not in that main event, but I was at the Royal Rumble in 2016, and he was in the Royal Rumble, so I can say that I've seen Luke Harper, live. So that was kind of cool to be able to reminisce on that. But we get to the Bludgeon Brothers. I think most people would agree they didn't love the overall gimmick, but the fans had already known the guys so much that it's still the Wyatt family. You can slap whatever extra clothes on them, but for them to finally win the belts at WrestleMania, it was on the pre-show, but it was WrestleMania no less. Regardless of the extra, stuff, and the hammers were cool, I'll give you that, but like the rest of the attire wasn't super flattering for them, I think. But yeah, to everyone else, they're still the Wyatt family, so they were still pretty pumped that they got that run that they deserved.
Yeah, and they worked off each other perfectly, man.
Yeah,
they really did. I was a big fan of the Wyatt family. I love the Wyatt family. Um, the Bludgeon Brothers, like I said, was great.
mm-hmm.
It was a great tag team. It just sucked that one of them got hurt, and then the next one, then Luke got hurt.
Yeah.
And like it's just like a chain reaction, and it was out for X amount of time, and that was really the last time we really saw him until WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame. They kind of took turns being injured, and it's something that you couldn't really help. But they had a decent run, but it could have been more had they stayed healthy. So it was bad timing on that. And then he really spent a good year sitting at home. He's talked about it enough times now that AEW hadn't started yet, obviously, but it would have been great for him to go to Japan for a short run, or Impact or Ring of Honor. And, given how short of someone's life could be, it's a shame that he wasted a year of it sitting at home. And I mean that professionally, because personally, he's home with his kids, his family. I'm sure that part was cool. Yeah. But maybe this will, and this might be wishful thinking here, but I'm in a wishful mood. This might make WWE think twice about signing wrestlers just to sit them at home. Maybe you can understand now that these guys have a limited time. One, they have a limited time to work and to make money and to be at the top of their game physically and socially and everything. And then just, life being too short. Maybe this will stop them from, and, they've dumped a lot of guys in the pandemic, and that's helped. And maybe they'll stop that whole concept of we're going to sign this guy and sit him just so he doesn't sign somewhere else. Maybe this is the wake-up call that they need. That is the one positive thing that might come out of all of this.
Yeah, I really hope they do stop doing that too. Because just because one person's out doesn't mean the next person shouldn't be out. Like that's why I love what they're doing with Jey Uso.
Yeah,
that's because Jimmy has been out since WrestleMania, and they're actually using Jey. So that's what I love about what they're doing now. I just wish they did that before. I feel like Luke could have had a excellent singles career. At least intercontinental US and challenging for the WWE title. And he's that good.
There's evidence of that during the Authority storyline when he did win the IC title. Very short-lived. He beat Ziggler. I think a month later he lost it back to him in a ladder match, but he was on the Authority side. He was a heel at the time, and he won the title, and the place, exploded. The crowd went banana, to quote Pat Patterson. And it's something. It was one of those, like, they were supposed to boo that because most people love Ziggler, right? He's great in the ring. He makes every situation work. People don't normally cheer when Ziggler loses a match, and they went ape for Harper winning the IC title, and it's still like he may have only held it for a short time, but you can still picture him with it. He like held the belt in his mouth, and the Authority was behind him. It was a hell of a visual, and that was during the short time that he split from the Wyatt family in kind of a. I don't know, the way it was done. I remember Bray's promo being like, I fixed him. He's ready to do things on his own. And it was kind of lazy, but people didn't mind it because like they wanted to see what Harper could do on his own, and it proved that he can. He's had matches with John Cena. There's not a single guy he couldn't have. Shout out to my best friend Jeremy. His favorite's always been Kane, and to me, Luke Harper is this generation's Kane, just more athletic. Not that Kane isn't athletic, but a whole nother stratosphere of like athleticism with it even. So like had he been able to live his full life and they were able to use him, he would have been the guy 15 years from now that would have been the veteran in the locker room, the way Kane and Undertaker. I think the Wyatts themselves could have easily been that. And man, if you mentioned all the comments on people, talking about his passing and everything. The one that hit me the most was Bray Wyatt because his Instagram post, man, like I don't remember every word of it, but the words that are just seared into my brain now is he says, it wasn't supposed to be this way. We were supposed to be bald, fat, and out of shape, running Wyatt family spots in our 70s in high school gyms in front of 100 people. Like that was the goal he had for them. They were going to be, those guys that could still, do, they could barely walk, but they'll go out there and do a Sister Abigail and the lights can go out. And that was the vision he had. They were going to stick together that long. And that's, it's crazy to know that we will never get that. Because like I said, Bray Wyatt, as great as he is, he needed to be the leader and Rowan held his position. But that Wyatt family gimmick, if you don't have Luke Harper, that does not work. It probably falls flat. It probably falls like Retribution is right now. Like you need that star in the making because WWE audience knew who Bray Wyatt was. They chanted Husky Harris at him, but they knew who he was. I think the guy that made it so fascinating was Harper. Like he draws you to the TV, that blank stare that he could have. You're like, this. I need to know more about this guy. I remember the first time seeing the Wyatt family, and again, I knew who Husky Harris was, so it was cool they were doing more with him. But you're mesmerized by the tall dude in the dirty T-shirt, which apparently was never actually dirty. Cesaro's told the story about, he went through great lengths to make them look dingy and gross, but they were actually like clean and smelled good even, which was a funny story for him to tell. I think I'm losing track of where I'm at right now, but I guess before I pass it back, just the Bray Wyatt one of all the testimonials, that's the one that got me because you would expect him to be closer with him than anybody.
Yeah, all four of them, well, three of them, Bray, Braun, and Rowan.
Mm-hmm.
Rowan hit me the most, just because like he was also there when they used to ride together after shows. He would say after after a show and they go home, he would say Rowan said that Harper would say, I see you forever. Something along the lines like that, because he wanted to spend the time with his family, and it seemed like forever when he was with his family.
Mm. Yeah, see you in
something
forever.
along the lines.
Yeah.
So like that one hit me hard because I was like, damn, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always say, man, you tell the people that you love them. Tell them that you love them, because you never know. Hell, you never know if I walk outside right now, God forbid someone hits me with their car, me taking out my trash. You just never know.
Mm-hmm.
I could fall down in the shower, hit my head. No one's here to see that.
Yeah. Well, that's why we got you the life alert, Donovan, just in case that does happen. We got that for you. But I think the Luke Harper character itself, obviously, is something WWE fans will hold dear. The Brodie Lee character, of course, was his indie persona, but I think we could talk for a minute. The transition of it to AEW, and I think one of the biggest tragedies is I don't think there's only been a handful. He never got to experience a full live AEW crowd. And the story has been told that he was supposed to debut in Rochester, New York, his hometown, the week before COVID hit. Instead, he debuted in Daly's Place in front of 0 people. So that was just how those cards fell. And I think it's obvious that no, Brodie Lee was not the original leader of the Dark Order. That was not the original creative plans. If what I've read is led to believe, it was actually originally going to be Marty Skrull, excuse me, was the point. It's supposed to be Marty Skrull being the leader, and when he kind of went his own way, um, they need to back up, and for him to come in and it worked perfectly. His kind of acting like Vince McMahon stuff was great, and I mean, you're gonna look down the line, years later when AEW is doing great, and the moment of him winning the TNT Championship from Cody in a squash essentially will always be one of the most powerful moments and one of the craziest ways Dynamite will ever end. Just leaving the Rhodes family laying, destroying the old TNT belt, having the new one. Um, you know, it's hard to think that a guy built a legacy in 6 months. And if you really go back, like he main evented a pay-per-view against John Moxley in a fantastic match. The dog collar match is something that'll always be remembered. He made up for lost time. He might have not had a lot of it in AEW, but he made the most of it. And it's a career that will always be remembered. And whenever AEW starts to uh, put together a Hall of Fame, I think you'll be remiss to find a better first entry whenever that happens.
Most definitely, man. Like um, I remember when he debuted, and I saw him. I was like, oh snap! It's Luke Harper. That's a so good job. That's it's cool, man. Happy for him. And then then I was able to hear him speak. I'm like, man, he was great on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
He is great on the mic. Why was he never used on the mic? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know because he was behind. He was the number two.
Yeah.
But he was great. Then the whole Dark Order thing with him. The Dark Order started was actually being much better than it was before.
Yeah, definitely. He really helped that whole gimmick out. And even with them being, when he's been gone, they've kind of been a comedy act again. They've kind of reverted back to that. And a lot of people are waiting, like, we can't wait for Mr. Brodie to storm back in and basically say, what the fuck have you guys been doing? Like, if you watch
Yeah.
BTE, if you see him cussing at them, the ongoing thing where he throws a wadded up set of papers at Evil Uno and he sells it. It's beautiful. It's hilarious. It's beautiful. And the BTE this past week was basically a bunch of outtakes and them telling the stories of how hard it was to film those without Brodie not making them like crack up laughing. So people were waiting for him to come back. I'm like, what the fuck have you guys been doing since I've been gone? Like, this is not what the Dark Order's about. We're about to get back in business, and it was going to take off again, and it was going to be fantastic. They were entertaining people in the meantime, but you could tell they were kind of treading water, waiting for their leader to come back. And we could sit and speculate on where the Dark Order goes from here and who the new leader should be, but honestly, I don't think this is the time for that. This isn't the time to talk wrestling storylines. I do look forward to that conversation. I think we will get there at some point, but I don't think now's the time. But the Dark Order itself is going to get plenty of time to honor Brodie Lee, including this past week. I know a lot of story came out about Brodie Lee Jr., his son in the Dark Order, known as Negative One. They rescheduled this week's Dynamite for he essentially booked the entire show, Brodie Lee's son. So we get some matchups that you wouldn't normally expect. For example, I think the biggest one is the Brodie Lee Jr. Dream match will be Team Taz versus Cody, Orange Cassidy, and Dark Order 10, which is obviously a weird combination, but it's what Brodie Lee Jr. wanted to see, and that will be interesting. We also have the Young Bucks and Colt Cabana against Matt Hardy and Private Party. That's another one that he put together. Basically, there's a Dark Order member in every match. This week we have MJF and Proud and Powerful against Hangman and Reynolds and Silver, which they teamed up last week, so there's a little bit of continuity there. So yeah, Dynamite's going to be rough to get through, but I think I'm looking forward to it at the same time because it is going to be just a celebration of a great man and a great wrestler. He leaves behind this incredible family that people have had a lot to say about. He was a diehard hockey fan. The Toronto Maple Leafs even commented on it because that's who his team was. Just the wrestling business is not as good as it was on Christmas. The day after Christmas, it got worse. And I don't know what
That's I
else.
think that hit me hard too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine, like, your family, like, Christmas was just yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and the next day, your father, your husband, your brother, uh, passes away. That's that's hard, bro.
Yeah.
That's hard.
We're gonna attempt here because we do want to end on somewhat of a positive note. Um, I did bring up a nice topic that I think we could change the subject on. Through the years, obviously, being when you're a wrestling fan at Christmas, sometimes that's the time that you'll get some of your coolest gifts. First question, I guess, did you get any wrestling related merchandise or stuff this year for Christmas?
Not a damn thing, brother. Not a
No.
damn thing. I mean, I got money. That's about
Yeah,
it. I had got some cash, but I mean that goes straight to bills and stuff.
true. I would say that
Um,
could turn into wrestling merch, I guess, if you
yeah,
wanted.
it could. Yeah, if I really wanted to.
I did end up
I
with one
was thinking
thing,
about picking up some shirts.
which I'll show off here. I got the new Young Bucks book, Killing the Business, from backyards to the big leagues. Look forward to cracking into this. It just came out like a couple weeks ago, so I didn't think we'd like find it at a store, but opened this at my parents' house and ended up getting it. So I enjoy a lot of wrestling biographies. If you look behind my right shoulder here, I got like the Hardys, I got Jerry Lawler, Stone Cold, Eddie Guerrero. I got a lot of wrestling biographies, so pretty happy to add this one to the list. Um, like so we originally planned this issues had these things not happened, we were going to talk about TLC in length, but just to close out, the two things I do want to talk about, we did mention the Hurt Business probably being the best WWE ran thing in 2020, and for them to end 2020 with all the gold, with Lashley being the U.S. champion and Shelton and Cedric being the tag team champions. Um, this is a great story too, to end with. Shelton actually went to Shad Gaspar's family and celebrated the tag title win with his son, and that was heartwarming to see. I didn't know how close they were or weren't. Apparently, they were very close. So to see that was pretty awesome. And I don't know, seeing that for you, how did you feel? And uh, the Hurt Business, I'm really excited to see where they go from here. This is, I think you can say the MVP really salvaged three other guys' careers because they were going nowhere before he came back and made all this happen.
Yeah, man, I was happy. I was happy. Like I said before, the New Day, they don't really need no titles.
Yeah,
They already got. I believe they passed the Dudleys. They got all they have the
yeah,
record already,
hmm,
and like they can't they could afford a loss
yeah,
and fighting for it. And it's always better. They're always better when they're fighting for the title, other than them having the title fighting for it. You get better promos from them and stuff. But I was happy, especially for Cedric. Cedric deserved it. I think the last title he had was the cruiserweight title,
yeah.
or he probably had the 24/7 title at one point.
If
But
yeah,
the
if that
last big
counts.
title, yeah, the last big title he had was the cruiserweight title. And I mean, I haven't seen Shelton have a title for years. I mean, he had a chance with Chad Gable,
Yeah, I was
and then
surprised that never
then they
went
turned it
anywhere.
around.
That probably should
Yeah,
have went somewhere too, but it didn't. So yeah, that's on them. Um,
yeah, but I'm all for the Hurt Business. I still think MVP needs to be the 24/7 title champion,
mhm,
just so they technically have all the gold. And I mean, who's gonna take it off him? Our Truth can't take it off him. I'm
right.
sorry, but our Truth needs to lose that. He's been the title. He's been the champion for too long. I love our Truth to
Yeah.
death, man. He's great. He's great on the mic and everything. But I would like to see MVP have it, and so they could be like have all the gold.
If they could get MVP, obviously he introduced the new US title, the new belt itself without actually winning it. If they could find a way for Lashley to like give MVP that belt and have Lashley go for the world title, that would really be something. Because like I love MVP, but he is a little bit older. So if somebody from that group is, and I know Lashley's older too, you just don't think of him that way, but he is. But he's
Yeah.
main event level. Like him versus Drew, I think is money. That could easily happen down the line. So did you
Yeah,
see
it's just
the
it's just because they already had that match over the summer though. That's
Yeah, that's true. Did you see that photo of them with all the belts, and MVP had his like Taekwondo championship medal or something? So they all had some
No, I did not.
hardware. I'll put it up here and I'll have to send it to you. But really badass photo. You can just see the pride in these guys of what they're accomplishing, and I look forward to them doing a lot more in 2021.
I will say this: the only thing I hated about that match is that they're showing like they're gonna turn on each other.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you saw that, but Cedric went in, tagged himself in, and I mean he hit the lumbar check to get the pin.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's doing a little too much. Just you guys just really just started getting together. Might as well just ride his wave. You guys got the titles right now. Continue being partners, no dissensions. Especially with Lashley too. Lashley and Cedric, they've been clashing a little bit as well.
Yeah. I mean,
But I would say this MVP is the glue though.
Yeah, he will hold them together for a long time.
I hope so.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to see what they could do more of moving forward. And they've been off to a great start. It's one of the definitely, in my opinion, the best faction for sure, but running storyline with WWE this year. And obviously, what would have headlined this episode in other circumstances, we can at least end with here. Let's talk, and we're a little late to this, obviously, but I think we still want to get our thoughts out on it. The Fiend versus Randy Orton and the fire spot. We won't really talk about the match because really there wasn't much to the match. It was kind of half cinematic, half real match. It reminded me of the Edge Orton greatest wrestling match ever. Like they used some really unique camera angles that I haven't seen before, so that definitely kept my attention. We'll jump past all that. What did you think of the spot? Just I guess we'll start how it actually came off on TV. I think was great. Like for what they had to work with and what they were trying to accomplish, I think it looked awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely different because usually you're in front of matches, you're there. It's around the ring. This time it's around the outside of the barricades,
which was a good call because you could do that with no people. So
with no people there. Yeah, so I get it. Yeah, for real. And I liked how they had the fire spiraling. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. Mm-hmm. So I liked it. The spot when it happened, I was like, oh, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. Bray just basically Randy backed Bray into the fire. His leather caught on fire, and like what I thought about, I was like, Bray has to be losing. Yeah, just because he had more clothing on. Yeah, Randy had
he had like a hoodie on
and sweatsuit. Yeah.
Which did help. It did help though, because if Orton came in his normal attire, like, well, he's not gonna get set on fire.
He's not gonna get set on fire. Yeah,
it did help. It did help with the belief, and you could see Orton. He's not used to wrestling in a shirt, so he kept like unzipping the jacket and zipping it back up and stuff because he started to sweat and stuff. So that was funny. So it helped that he did have the jacket, or else it would have been obvious that he wasn't getting set on fire. At least with this stuff, you could be like, oh, maybe they'll. His pant leg will catch or his hoodie will catch and he can throw it off, but it still counts. Like they at least they didn't outthink the room and they let that part be, logical for a change.
Yeah, for sure. Like and you could definitely hide a burn suit in leather. From Bray.
And you mentioned the whole like, oh, it would have been a bummer if the Fiend's back is just gets burnt and that's the end of the match. People remember Inferno matches, but if you look back at the Kane versus Undertaker one, the only thing that happens is Kane's arm gets caught on fire and he runs to the back. So it would have been pretty par for the course for that to happen. But the image of him running into the ring while on fire and then getting dropped with an RKO, to me, is cooler than him actually setting him on fire.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool though. Just the visual of him of Bray running into the ring.
Yeah.
So while he's still on fire, and then Randy Orton just RKO. That was pretty dope.
And he's running like the Frankenstein, like he's got his arms up and he's wailing, and it was great. I almost would have loved it to end right there because I don't hate the fire spot, but it was a tad too much for me. Not like graphically or anything, but like clearly it wasn't him. Well, I shouldn't say clearly because it looked very convincing, but you know it wasn't him. So
Yeah.
it's cool that he's written off TV, and right now it's been like Alexa Bliss and Orton carrying the storyline. He'll eventually, I'm sure. And honestly, with everything that's happened, I'm sure they'll leave him off a little bit longer. I'm sure it's gonna be a little bit till Bray Wyatt the person comes back on TV, which totally
Yeah.
understandable. But this is a way that they could make that go. In the meantime, it wasn't losing an eyeball bad by any means, because that's still the king of the who booked this shit for 2020. But it was in the ballpark. It wasn't on the field, but it was like in the ballpark watching this one play. So it was a little too much. It was great. It'll be remembered forever. It'll probably grow on me as time goes by. But I would have loved. Imagine if he runs in the ring on fire, gets dropped with the RKO, and Orton just poses over him. That would have been the more pro wrestling ending, I guess. But it's
Yeah.
memorable, and again, I respect when they do these things that they know they only have the opportunity to do when there's no fans, so they might as well do it now.
Yeah.
So with that
Hmm.
aspect, I don't mind it. I don't know. Overall, were you positive on it, negative? What are you thinking?
I was pretty positive on it. I did get a big laugh at the ending of the match when after the RKO and Randy Orton just getting the gasoline and just holding the light
Mm-hmm.
the match till it gets to the end and then drops it.
Yeah,
And like that's when oh yeah, they just switched out Bray's body.
yeah, yeah. You can tell
Because
that's
the
when.
camera you could because the camera
Mhm.
didn't pan down at all until
Right.
down to nothing.
Mhm.
It was just sitting there the whole time. So I got a chuckle off of that. I think a lot of people did get a chuckle out of the doll, but I still think it was pretty cool because it was a cool visual.
Yeah.
You just see him just burning.
And it wasn't like
But
a
it's also like damn man, Randy Orton just killed Bray Wyatt. You know?
yeah.
He just committed arsenal.
So in 1 year, we've had two people thrown off of Titan Tower. We've had somebody lose an eyeball, and we've had a man set on fire. Hell of a year for WWE when you think about it. Hell of a year.
Yeah, it just sounds like 2020, yo.
It's true.
That's just 2020.
2020 in a nutshell. And we are happy to leave 2020 behind. One of the positives to come out of 2020, of course, was the birth of this podcast, and this will be the last episode for 2020. So until we have some big things planned for 2021, we really want to hit the ground running with this. You're going to see a slightly different look on this. Hopefully, we'll do some of these in person, maybe after pay-per-views. That's something we've been wanting to attempt to do instead
Yeah,
of waiting a couple days, because then the fun's kind of past us. You want to do it when it's fresh in your mind. So we might try to do some like immediately after pay-per-view reaction type shows down the line. Try and get some wrestlers on the show. I have a few people on the Vine I've talked to that maybe I can get on the show. That's another thing I want to look into. But we want to thank you guys for this ride. We are 14 in. We look forward to doing way more than 14 in 2021. Hope you had a great holiday. Have a happy new year, and hug your loved ones, because tomorrow is not promised. So thank you all for listening to the
definitely.
Wrestle Report. Have a good rest of the year, and we'll see you in 2021.